my name is Bailey and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I don't know who created it. I'll link them below when I find out. Yeah, I see people do these like every year and now it's my time. So yeah, let's get into it. There's 5 questions and I'm going to be reading them off my laptop. So yeah, let's go. So the first, I guess they're not questions or prompts, but the first prompt is the best book you've read in 2019 so far. The book I chose for this is Summer of Salt by Katrina Leno. I read this in March, I do believe, and absolutely loved it. This is like a magical realism sort of a story. So this book follows Georgina and she lives on this island called By the Sea, which is, you know, it's an island, so it's very isolated. And her family is the Fernways, and all the women in the Fernway family have sort of mystical powers or magical abilities. And, you know, everybody just kind of acknowledges that there's something up with the Fernways, but nobody really knows it's magic. And I absolutely love this. This has LGBTQ rep, specifically bi and lesbian, and there's also bi curiosity. And this book, I absolutely loved. Like, it's such a short book, but the way it deals with queer themes, also sexual assault themes, which trigger warning for this book, there's sexual assault in it. The way it is dealt with, to me, is so good. It was just such a good book. Like, I love this book so much. It's probably one of my, like, favorite books, if not my favorite book. I just loved it so much. The LGBTQ rep, like, made me cry. It's just such an amazing book, and you should read it. I just love it so much, and so good. So this is definitely my favorite book, I think. Like, it was really hard for me to choose for this one because there's a lot of books I've read so far this year that I really, really love, and we'll be talking about some of them again. But it's just like, I love this book a lot. This book has like a special place in my heart. So yeah, the best book of 2019 so far. The second prompt is best sequel of 2019 so far. For this, I've read 2 sequels this year, and I couldn't pick between them because I love them both so much. So they are The Wicked King by Holly Black and Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer. I read both of these this year, and I absolutely love them. Like, I read Renegades 2 years ago, I think 2 years, I don't know. And I absolutely loved it. So when the sequel came out, I kind of waited to read it until like I was in the mood, because I wasn't in the mood to read this series for a very long time, until I think April this year. When I read this book, it's so good. Like, it's one of my favorite books ever because it's just, like, the way Marissa Meyer writes and how she handles the topics she, like, takes on. She's just, like, so good. I love Marissa Meyer so much, and I love this series. Well, I love these 2 books. I don't know if I love the series, but I love this book. It's so good. I could gush about it all day. But, Renegades follows Nova, and she is an anarchist, but she's going undercover as a renegade, and it also follows Adrian, who is a renegade. And basically it follows how Adrian and Nova's storylines intertwine, and how one of the main overarching like concepts is how can you decide who's a villain and who's a hero and who's good and who's evil. And it's such a good, I love how Marissa Meyer deals with these like deep topics like abuse of power and evil versus good. Oh my god, it's just so good. Read this series. So good. Like, Renegades is amazing. I think Arch Enemies is even better. It's so good. And then Wicked King. Cruel Prince I actually thought wasn't that great. I think I gave it like 3.5 or 4 stars. I also wasn't reading as critically back then, but that's aside the point. I thought that this book was so much better than The Cruel Prince. Like, one of my biggest problems with The Cruel Prince is the pacing of the book. But this book I thought was really, really good on that front, and I just love the characters so much, and the end of it just broke my soul. I was crying on the phone with my friend after I finished reading this, because it was just like, I was broken inside. I read this in January, and instead of studying for one of my finals, I was just reading this book. I didn't do bad on that final, I should have studied more. But this book was so good, so enchanting, it really just got me, you know what I mean? Needless to say, I rated all these 5 stars, but this book is so good, and as a sequel to a book that I thought was pretty, like, decent, it blew me away. So I really loved this. The main character, Jude, I did not like in The Cruel Prince, but this book I don't know if I liked her, but I understood her reasoning, and I thought she was such, like, a badass character. I like this book a lot. I love this book so much, so yeah. The next prompt is the most anticipated release for the second half of 2019. And again, I'm picking 2 for this because I couldn't choose just one, and it is actually the sequels to the sequels I just showed you, and that is Supernova by Marissa Meyer and Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. So they are both the finale, or like the 3rd book in the trilogies that they are a part of. And so to go into Supernova first, again, I loved Arch Enemy so much, and I'm just so curious to see how Marissa Meyer like ties it all together, because there's so many plot lines that need to be tied together, and I want to see how it's dealt with, and I'm just so excited. And like there's a lot of secret identities in these books, and they need to be wrapped up, and the main couple has gotten together finally, and I'm just like, I want to see how it all ends, and I'm so excited. And then for Queen of Nothing by Holly Black, first off, I need to say that I hate the cover of this book. It looks like a cotton candy explosion, and I hate it. Like, I think this cover is gorgeous, but Queen of Nothing to me is just, like, that was a mistake. I'm not liking a lot of covers recently. I don't know why, but that was kind of beside the point. I am so excited for Queen of Nothing because I don't want to spoil Wicked King or The Cruel Prince, but the ending of The Wicked King ruined my heart, ruined my soul, and all my dreams. You know what I mean? Like, it just destroyed me. And so I'm so excited to see how it all comes together in this final book and how everything is fixed. And I hope everything is fixed, and I hope my OTP gets together, and I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, there's so many like new releases, honestly, that I could have picked for the second half of 2019. There's so many coming out, but these 2 really stick out to me because these 2 books just haunt me at night when I'm like thinking through what could happen. It just stresses me out, and I really want them so much. So yeah, those are my 2 most anticipated releases for 2019. Well, the second half of 2019. I need them right now. Next up, the next prompt is the biggest disappointment of 2019 so far. For this prompt, I'm going to go with I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman. I read this because I read Radio Silence by Alice Oseman, and I absolutely adore that book. If you have not seen, BookTube like loves that book, and I read it because I saw Kat from Paperback Dreams rave about it because it's her like favorite book of all time. So I read that book. I absolutely love it. It's just such a good book. And so I was like, you know, I like this book by this author. I should try out her other books. So I picked up I Was Born for This, and I was thoroughly disappointed. I rated this, I think, 3 stars because it just took me so long to get through. And the description of this book gives off the vibe of something else. Like, it gives off the vibe that the 2 characters are their lives are going to intertwine, and they're going to interact a lot more than they do. But it's over halfway through the book that they actually, like, the plot really starts moving. I thought this book was very boring. And, you know, I liked some of the themes, and I liked the writing. I couldn't connect to these characters. I didn't feel anything for this book. It just felt very mediocre to me. And I just felt like the synopsis didn't give off the actual vibe of the story of the book, and I just felt kind of underwhelmed. I will say, for this book, in true Alice Oseman fashion, the diversity was pretty good. So one of the main characters is a transgender male. I don't want to speak on the representation, but I thought it was nice that was, you know, I thought that was nice that was included, that the character was transgender, because I find I don't see a lot of transgender main characters in books, let alone transgender characters. So I really enjoyed reading about that, and I thought the other main character is Muslim, I do believe. I haven't read this in a hot second, but I do believe she's Muslim. And so, again, in Alice Oseman fashion, diversity was very good. I really like the dynamic between the bandmates, because this is about a band and then a fan of the band, and I really like that dynamic. But, like, again, the way the synopsis kind of says it, it's like, oh, how does a fan's life parallel to the actual thing that they're a fan of? Like, I thought it was going to be more diving into their different mindsets, but it didn't really do that until, like, the end of it, and then it was kind of like a whole different story by the end of the book. So that, to me, was a bit, I don't know, it just disappointed me, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So the last prompt is books to read by the end of 2019. I picked one book in particular, and that is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I recently read, like this month, Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and I've tried many a times to read this book, and I hadn't read Shadow and Bone before, and I just couldn't get into the world because I find the world building in this book is a lot less detailed, because it's under the presumption that you would have read the Grishaverse, I find. Like, you don't have to, but I think it's under the assumption that you would. And so I could never really get into it. I've read, like, the first prologue thing 6 or so times, never could make it past it, and it really disappoints me because I really anticipate liking this book. So I read Shadow and Bone, and now I have, like, the magic system in the world, like, pretty down-packed. I think it would be a lot easier for me to get into Six of Crows now and read it and be able to not be confused, because when I read, if I find something that I don't understand, I get so hung up on it, and it makes my reading experience really slow, and I just don't like it. So I think I'd be able to pick this up now, and I really want to read this by the end of the year because it's been driving me crazy. So, yeah. I'm not going to give you a description because this book has been hyped to the nines and everybody knows what this is about. So, yeah. I hope to read this by the end of 2019. We'll see. I'll update you later. So this has been the mid-year book freakout tag. Tell me below what your favorite book of 2019 that you've read so far is, because I'm really curious to see what other people are reading and enjoying this year. I've been Bailey. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye!